Good afternoon, morning, noonday, night. Hope everybody's doing well. Today's video, we're watching more Overwatch 2. This time, we're watching Daytime Dorado from like more of like a top-down view in comparison to the POV which we watched in the last video. We talk a little bit about Dorado, some things that maybe you could change about it to help with taking high ground control. Let me know what you think about that. And if you like the video, hit the like button. Sub to the channel if you haven't, and I hope you all have an amazing day. What is going on, Flats? I'm sorry. Oh, I just said something. Flats goes, hey, should we just watch all three? And I literally type honestly, and then I didn't type anything else. And he just goes, is there a second part to that? I just completely forgot. I didn't say anything else. I literally didn't say anything else.
All right, so do you want to explain what we're doing tonight? Just, or do you want me to do it?
So basically, I can explain it. So basically what we're doing tonight is we're going to be kind of like looking at some of the Overwatch 2 like playtests they had. Obviously, the videos have been out for about a week now, but I'm finally getting an opportunity to kind of watch them, sit down, sit back, kind of see how 5v5 plays, because obviously there's one less tank. So for me, when I'm watching this, I'm kind of looking at two things. I'm looking at how much damage there is, and I'm looking at like essentially how the tanks are playing. I don't expect there to be it's going to play a lot different, I expect. And I think the biggest thing for me, and I'll say this from the get-go, is that I expect that there's a lot more changes across the board. You're missing a few of the heroes that you could play. Like you can't play Orisa, you can't play Sigma. They're working on things like Doomfist as a tank right now, possibly.
Yep.
There's probably other new tanks in general. So I don't really get the full picture here, but I want to see how things play. Like, for example, like we see that in this game, Violet's going to be playing Zen, right? So I want to see how Zen plays in like a single tank and all that, and kind of go from there.
You're going to laugh your ass off, I think.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be interesting, because one thing I do expect is a lot of increased damage.
All right, I'm starting in 3, 2, 1 now.
All right, here we go.
I'm keeping the casters pretty low.
Yeah, I'm putting pretty low too. Here we go. So obviously it's on Daytime Dorado.
2.
So it's I'm watching. Now that can obviously still happen right now. But right when I saw the Discord on Winston, yeah. So that's like one of those things where
double hack into the block.
yeah. That was the increased damage. Well, that's one of the things I was worried about from the get-go is just a little bit of the increased damage right there. But obviously now they're able to like they target focus Zen down, and now Zen literally isn't, they just win the fight. It's over at that point because they can just spawn up there. But yeah, no, it's like that's one of the things I've still been kind of concerned about is definitely the increased damage. And when you have Sombra, if I'm correct, Sombra also has the increased damage for that time. I think only for Sombra, right?
Yes, for Sombra, yes.
So like you have that increased damage on whoever Sombra hacks, and then you have the Discord orb. It's just a bunch of damage, and
walls as well.
Exactly, which can definitely make it a little bit difficult for a tank at that point.
Yep.
But you can tell right now, like in this type of dive they're running, it's kind of they're almost like comfortable in how the dive is gonna work, because like it's just you're basically doing the same thing you did without Diva.
Yep.
And you kind of expect that you're not gonna survive the fight, or they're just gonna die immediately, which I think is something they wanted to have happen. If I'm correct, is like having the fights end quicker.
Yeah, that's actually why they didn't buff healing too much, because they were worried about time to kill being too high. Also, if you end up pausing or anything, just let me know.
Oh, I will. No, so far I'm going here.
Yeah, same.
What are my thoughts on the sound updates? I mean, I can hear a little bit of like the updates to the
Soldier's gun
sounds.
sounds like Lego Bash. I can't unhear it.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. He says Overwatch 2 has the same maps. Well, it has new maps too. I think there's going to be different, like, I think there's going to be nighttime, daytime versions of the maps and stuff like that. I'm still like a little bit, I've talked about it a little bit. I want to see if they can change the way maps play. So for example, I still think that Dorado will run into the issue on second point, where like there's too much range or inability to get to the high ground quickly, which kind of forces you on one comp. And I've talked about maybe the idea of like opening up the side right there and allowing them to go up that way to get high ground. So you still have to go through that area, but you have a little bit easier access to high ground. I think we'll play a little bit better on both sides.
I think even first point's tough to take. On this map, like really tough.
Yeah. So far, I mean, watching this in general, I've just, it's interesting because on this one so far, it feels like it's played kind of just like like just dive comp does so far. But that's also because of the comp they're running. Like I said, like, you know, obviously they're still not running that comp where I think it's gonna be a bunch of increased damage. And I haven't, keep in mind, this is my first time watching this, so I have no idea what happens. So if I predict something that's gonna happen or doesn't happen, like
a little bit of feedback too we found out from the AMA later on is they were told to try to play new comps and new heroes as this went on.
I like this with Winston, by the way. What's that HP bar above? Like it says 522. Is that like the bubble? How much HP's in the
when he jumped in the first time?
Yeah, that's the HP in the bubble?
Yes.
That's cool. I like that update to that.
Yeah, it looks good. I think Tracer looks phenomenal.
Like with how the UI looks?
The UI and like the way they changed her guns and how they like how she handles like this fight right here. Like right here, like this feels like how really good Tracer I think feels. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
okay.
They're just like looking at it. I think like they've done like a really good job with theirs so far.
That's really cool. Also, did they change Winston in this or no?
Yes, this is Sniper Monkey.
Okay, we haven't seen that yet. So.
No, we have. He's right clicking. You'll see it.
Okay. I mean, I haven't noticed what it would be.
On the high ground.
Yeah.
It's like.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
It's like a little beam burst. It's not across the map, but it's like maybe double, maybe 2.5 times his normal range.
Okay. I mean, this is, like I said, so far, this is just on, but here's my big concern I have, is that when you watch the new maps being played, it's one of those things I talked about on the stream the other day, where, like, the way the maps are going to play right now might look similar to how they play currently, because the new maps, you don't understand how the maps are played, and it takes a while to understand and play those maps, so players are a little bit confused on where to go to, which is what we saw when, like, new maps come out. In general, you never got to see it like the way Iconwall plays now is way different than it was before. Like right now, still, I mean, it looks like just like the normal dive comp we watch. But if you also look at what I talked about on Dorado in general, they've already had to switch to those comps that work on this map. They like range play a little bit further back because this is how this map plays. I've always talked about the idea of maybe opening up the side of the building there. See right there how they have to go all the way around that entrance? It takes like a year and a half. Imagine if you could just get up where the see where Winston just jumped, getting up that way.
Just like a ramp all the way up there. Yep. No, I agree.
I think that you would still have to work around the map here, but it would allow for easier high ground control for comps that aren't dive comps. And you could have an opportunity to maybe go for the Widow really far back.
My personal take so far is I think Winston actually looks pretty good in 5v5. I think my big concerns come later. You'll see. Like I actually don't mind this. I think this looks like pretty good. The other thing is like it's more. I saw it more on the like later. I don't know if it was this fight or it was one more, but it felt like kind of empty. Sometimes like
it could be. Yeah.
Other than that, though, like this, I agree with you on that. And I think their goal, at least from what I understood, was to make it more brawly. But we'll talk about on New York. But New York feels like it's a very open map. So I hope it's, you know, if there are more maps coming out or there's redesigns of maps, like they're looking to like tighten those chokes and stuff.
That right there is really cool. What I'm watching though, right there with Winston. I just saw what you're talking about when they're doing I like that play with Winston they're doing right there. You can see the right clicks. They're actually battling out there. So
he actually, he right click, jumped, meleeed, and then like he pretty much almost finished him by himself. It was great. You know?
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I think that adds a little bit more like that makes Winston like even more probably like fun to play because Winston's always been like a fun like hero to play.
So fun,
very fun. Even like obviously I play a lot of off tank, which obviously is going to be more tank now.
But like Winston.
Yeah, it's gotten better.
Actually bad. It's actually pretty good.
It can be really fun like playing Winston. So now this is once again
he's
where
getting the treatment right now.
Yep. But once again, you have Discord there, and they're not playing Sombra now. So, like, if they played Sombra there, I'm sure that Winston would get absolutely rolled. But, like, add in what they have right there with Winston, that seems like Winston could be really fun.
Some outside knowledge, again, like I was telling you, like, they were told to swap every 3 minutes. I believe Super said on stream that they actually ended up making a pact between them to not play Sombra because of how strong she felt.
The current version looks, like, very strong.
Yeah. So, actually...
Like...
Actually, now they're gonna play Sombra on the opposite side, because I guess Dallas already has. They already played Sombra.
Is the health pack timing the same, or is it? Can you get those quicker too?
That's a good question. I don't know, honestly. That's just ridiculous to me. Yeah, I think that Anna just got hacked again. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
She's hacked, or the break's hacked up there now. It's just nothing you can do about that.
Nope. I think that they're going to have to change the way Sombra plays too.
Definitely.
It's very different across the board too. I'll talk about it a little bit. I probably talk about it during this too. is like,
Look at this right here.
oh, I like that. I love that.
was so
you
cool.
can finish the kill.
Yep.
But like you don't get like, I think that's to prevent any type of CC there's left in the game. So like
on a sleep
you
dart
do
right
get,
there.
if you get booped or something, you can still have the ability to win, especially like, I guess it's gonna sound, I mean, it's basically, how often do your teammates wake up your sleeves when you're playing support?
Yeah.
So now that when they wake up the Winston that already jumped in, the Winston can now just right click and kill you.
Mm-hmm. And actually, so that's a huge part of the counterplay too, because like especially if you like jump in on Winston, you don't have enough damage to kill the Ana. Like if she backs away, like you did just enough. You can kill her with the right click. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see how some of the changes happen, like when they do some of these tests too, because I think an example that I gave to you, I think yesterday or the day before when we played, is like when we like play I've talked about like my concern with like Zarya solo tank, where when we see Zarya use personal bubble, Zen immediately discords Zarya and Zarya just dies.
Yep.
Right. But like it can be rank dependent where that doesn't happen and Zarya can be really strong because you're not discording Zarya right away. You know, a lot of time you're spending the time trying not to charge Zarya, but in reality, if Zarya's out of position,
Yep.
you can just break her bubble and kill her immediately. So I'm curious to see, because like, didn't they say that when they were playing, Sombra didn't seem strong?
Yeah.
But then when, yeah. And then now they see Sombra being played, like, oh wow, I can see that now, like immediate target focus, things like that. So I'm definitely curious to see how that plays out with some of the
curious
changes.
to see your thoughts here, because Hamdan's gonna play D.Va on defense.
Okay.
And I think Super rolls out. I don't know if he rolls out on Hog, but there's some Rhine play in here too.
Okay. Oh, I'm definitely curious to see then.
Also, really dual.
Because I mean, we'll see more D.Va later. Super plays D.Va on his POV. Which is
That was a good play. Good hook.
That was nice.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what you think of D.Va here.
Okay. We'll see.
I feel like Hog is going to be a little too strong in this, but at the same time though, the reason Hog was so strong is like, you know what I mean? Like the other tank would basically do all the tanking work, and Hog would just go flank and go get free kills. But there isn't someone to do that anymore.
No, I agree. Do they have the like? Oh wow. I know they just recently added like a change to Mercy, not like a change, but like they added that extra option now when you play Mercy with like the movement. I wonder if that was in this too.
That's a good question, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, so it seems that to me right now with like the solo tank play, they're just using D.Va to just kind of run around with the team and hold DM. Which I think is the idea, right? I see what you're saying about Hog, because it's one of those things where Hog can get that early pick right away.
Yep.
If you have to kind of play that like brawl, but at the same time, I think we'll see over time when people run like Zen and Echo, Hog can only really just get there and use their heal and then probably die, or they have Ana. So it's like one of those things where like it could be like, see, here's the question: if you, right now in current Overwatch, right? And if I see anything here, I'll keep commenting.
Just popped, by the way.
Oh wow!
Like a balloon just exploded.
Yeah, I saw. Oh yeah. Well, this is what I'm curious about with the way it's playing right now. So in current Overwatch, a 6v4 can quickly turn into you losing the team fight.
Yep.
Like very quickly. Will we see that same thing now in this version, where like you get a pick is at like the end of the fight almost? You know what I mean?
I think it depends on who. Like tank, absolutely.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like right now, you can still lose a tank and then still win the fight. So I'm curious how that plays. But yeah, you still have Rhine. One thing we're noticing is like it's still. I can tell the biggest problem that both of the teams have ran into so far, at least with one tank, is that they can't. Trying to get the map control, it just can't get the high ground yet, right? That's why they went the Rhine comp, and I think they can. Now they have Rhine, they're gonna play really like you'll watch. They're gonna play tight behind the shield, to try to get that high ground. So it's like, can you take that high ground easily if you go like Zarya, for example? And that's something I need to see be played across the board, where like I need to see if you can actually do that with Zarya on this map occasionally, or how the high ground would play. Because so far that's what's been the problem, is that they don't have the like, and this map already has this kind of problem where it's hard to get that high ground. But when you go up there in 6v6 right now, you have a little bit more. Both tanks can kind of absorb a lot of the damage, and you can at least gain the map control. So I'm just curious to see how that plays.
They can fight for high ground a lot better.
Exactly. Like, yep. But I mean, let's be honest. Half the time you go up there with one tank anyway, because the other tank's flanking.
So yeah, even though they lose one here, I wonder if they're still gonna go for it, do that same thing, like they play tight and they go up top.
Oh, they have to. Well, they're
ready for it though.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, exactly. They're able to take a little bit more map control around, right? And it's like a little bit. They're able to play it this way because like for example, you see where soldiers on the other side of the map there by themselves not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, do you switch off of Ryan and go Diva to get on them the whole time, but then allow the other part of the map to? That's like where the map's going to change and how the styles are going to change. Because before you could go be like, okay, Diva, can you get on soldier while we do that? Now it's like, well, do you go Diva to get on the soldier,
Yeah.
or do you go Ryan to try to take the high ground and prevent damage?
Mm-hmm. God, just constantly antied and just getting rolled. It just does not look fun on Ryan, I'm gonna be honest. I think Super said something about it. This didn't feel that good.
Yeah. See, that's why I wonder if, like...
Well, that's the Ryan special right there. Shatter blow up.
Yeah. See, that's what I've talked about with Dorado, and I'm just gonna pause the video now.
Okay.
So, like, just talk about that a little bit more. That's what I was talking about with, like, I want to see how the map designs are, and if they do plan on reworking some of the maps, because I feel like high ground in certain maps, you'll see that. Now, don't get me wrong, like, this is still, you know, their first time playing it, their first time trying it, like, so the way they would play it differently with comps, but, like, my concern draws high ground. I think maybe if there's a couple more, like, ways to get up to that high ground a little bit easier, then you might see that point not be as... You won't be able to play the map control as much as that. But now, like, once again, how does that play across the board, right? If we look at, like, every rank and how everything plays, right? And that's why I think if there's more, like, accessible, like, high grounds, then you can see... Because if they're going to play spread like that, right, and there's not as much happening, then they can control the map so easily that if you can't get to high ground, you're either forced to one comp and have to go mobile heroes, you have what just happened, right? And obviously, they're trying different stuff there. Like, I imagine if that was, like, a legitimate match next April, there's going to be a way different strategy right there. They're going to jump up there with Echo. They're going to Discord, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I imagine there's different strategy to that. But I think overall with a map like Dorado, the high grounds are so dominant on most points. Now, first point isn't as dominant, but once they get underneath and you get map control there, my guess is that getting past that part can be tough. But once you get to the next part, it's a lot easier.
I think that's definitely accessibility to, like, have even fights on high ground. Definitely is important, you know, and like that would change the whole dynamic of, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you go to take high ground here, right? Unless you see them go all the way to Narnia on the right, you just camp this top left. You know what I mean? And, like, remember Super tried to go through under the doorway, it just gets rolled. At least if you have two, then you either have to split up and hold each one separately, or you have to keep rotating. And that rotating, you know what I mean? Like, that timing can be so fast that, like, you know, if you rotate over there, you're no longer standing over them. You're just, like, on the same ramp. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean, the thing too is I could be completely wrong on that, like, that idea for those maps, because this is just like an initial, like, I'm watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm watching that and I'm going, okay. When I watch them, like, kind of dive for the first, like, defense the whole time, it reminded me of, like, just dive comp. Like, it reminded me of dive comp. It was pretty. It played like dive comp did. You just don't have that second tank in there with that, which you could see Winston was popping off. And then I saw there where to me, it's more like if you can't get that comp, what can you do in that situation, right? And that's what I was, like, saying is, like, they add something there where you can get up there with just about any comp.
It almost it develops, like, really heavy map-based comps.
Which maybe that's what they're going for with some math, right? Because think about it. Okay, but this is a question for chats, for you. What is the one thing where you see map-based comps a ton? just so people, you know, so what we're talking about here is Koth, or what would you call it? What is it? It's Koth, like. So on control maps, and even someone said Gibraltar, that's a good idea. Like, when you watch, like, when you see, like, Koth or, you know, control maps, you know, they have it set up so every single map's different. So maybe that is what they want with that, is it's like, it's going to be map-based comps. So they, like, then that will be that, because, like, Dorado will be a heavy dive comp, right?
Yeah.
But then you also look at maps. For example, I think you can win. I mean, this is maybe random, but you could probably win first point Eichenwald with a Hog tanking or a Rhine tanking, right? Probably not on second. So you'll have to switch to a dive comp, right?
Verticality is huge on.
Which mean you don't need to go dive comp on that map, but we see it now that, like, a lot more of how Overwatch plays now specifically is. Let's go through Eichenwald, right? I'm playing Eichenwald. First point, you can play double shield, right? You can play rush if you want to. Double shield's pretty good there. You can play rush. You can play the kind of the Echo map control ball comp.
Yep.
At the second point, probably can't play double shield after a while. Why? Because the high ground's so high up that you don't get that same value. Kind of like on Dorado. So you switch to a dive comp. What happens when you get the third? Somebody goes Junkrat, right?
Yep.
So I think that's why I think Dorado. If you can make first point a little bit easier to get up there so that you don't have that dominant high ground on first. It's not really dominant in the sense. Like I can see why with like one less tank you could be able
This
to hold that
looks
high
kind
ground.
of dominant, but I get what you're saying.
You could hold the high ground a lot easier. But if there's a way on one of those points to change that, then you'd have that part where you can kind of change out different comps per thing. I think Dorado has that problem sometimes where it doesn't do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, and another thing is true. It's true that like, you know, a lot of time, you know, you're not going to be able to switch those comps either, right? So like, it's one of those things that I think Dorado's one of those maps. You know, I've talked about Dorado for a while now, and I think Dorado's one of those maps that doesn't.
I don't think you don't like Dorado either, do you?
Well, it's just the way it plays
Yeah.
for me. It can be different though. Out of curiosity, chat, type 1 in the chat if you find that second point Dorado is full held or teams just roll right through it. 1 for full held, 2 for your teams just roll right through it. On second point Dorado.
Or 3 if you think it's even.
Yeah.
Wait, that's way more 2s than I thought.
Is it me or is it almost like 60-40 or like 70-30 in favor of like rolling right through second?
Mine's like 80-20 rolling through second.
Which is crazy because Flats and I what would you vote?
I'd vote 1.
I'd vote 1 every day of the week because and some people said 3 for even. See, like, so that's what I talked about earlier with like the Zarya changes and how like the way Zarya plays differently. I imagine Dorado just plays differently. Like we have so many times where we play Dorado, and we've seen it in OWL, we've seen it like in our rank games where it is so hard to get past second point. But why? Because people play like long range heroes across the map, and you can't, you know, you just the widows are hitting all their shots and they're discording you. You're getting
and that
like,
makes it rank dependent. It's not, you know.
Well, exactly. So
Gold
it's like
doesn't
one of those,
have them hit across the map constantly.
So maybe they can't add that type of dynamic because they already see on second point. Second points, teams are rolling right through second point, right? So that's why like I have to look at it from that point of view too, where I come up with these ideas, but I'm also thinking like, you know, we just saw it with, you know, obviously we could ask, you know, in the YouTube comments too. I'm curious. Wait, did I just like do the thing? Where,
You
like,
just did it. You just broke the fourth wall.
Oh, I did. I'm actually curious now. Like, maybe I'll just ask it in the like in the intro. Like, I'm curious now how often you feel like you get full held on Dorado and how often like the map gets completed and it's like a 3-3 or like both teams get the third point. I'm actually curious now. Because it plays so because we are so used to like we got past second.
Yeah.
Whoa, what do we do now?
You got past second, you're winning the game pretty much.
No, I'm just kidding, but like, yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.